Mark Robinson and how the NC GOP got here. Welcome to hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. Just because I'm a proud Republican doesn't mean I have to blindly support every candidate the party puts forward. That doesn't make me a rhino or unaffiliated or any less of a Republican. In fact, it reinforces the values of the constitutional republic that ensures our democracy. It's my duty as a Republican to hold our leaders to a higher standard. When someone doesn't measure up, I'm not going to turn a blind eye. Unfortunately, we've seen this in North Carolina, where some Republicans at our state convention voted to censor Senator Thom Tillis, a senator I believe who has done great work, even though I've disagreed with him at times, and I have no problem stating it, and I have in the past. Now, the same people who call Thom Tillis a rhino for supporting marriage rights are the ones telling us to blindly back Mark Robinson, despite the obvious red flags. They claim that these are all, quote, leftist tricks. But many of the concerning words we've heard have come straight from Robinson himself. They're recorded. And he'll say, WRAL, you can quote me on that, WRAL. The truth is, he's more of a viral sensation than a vetted leader. It's time we stop idolizing unvetted candidates and start holding them accountable. As Republicans, we must always put we the people first, not personalities or viral moments. Stay tuned for more. I think it's time for us to go right. Mark Robinson and the North Carolina gubernatorial crisis, how the GOP got here. Mark Robinson's rapid rise to political stardom came to a screeching halt after revelations surfaced that he could unravel his campaign and the future of the Republican Party in North Carolina. His trajectory from a viral gun rights speech to a gubernatorial candidate once symbolized the power of grassroots politics. But now, the GOP is left scrambling as Robinson's past and controversial statements jeopardize the entire ticket. The panic within North Carolina Republican circles began as CNN was set to release an explosive report tying Robinson to offensive comments and posts on an obscure online forum. And they just recently made fun of it on Saturday Night Live. So, hey, at least he accomplished to be parodied on Saturday Night Live. Now, these revelations, denying which Robinson staunchly continues, paint an ugly picture, allegedly involving praise for Adolf Hitler and a support for bringing back slavery. While Robinson denies these claims, the damage is evident, and many within the GOP are pointing fingers. Robinson's rise, the viral video that fooled many. In many ways, Mark Robinson's political ascent started with a viral moment that resonated with millions. The video of his passionate defense of gun rights before the Greensboro City Council in 2018 seemed to encapsulate the frustrations of many conservatives. As a black man eloquently standing up for the Second Amendment rights, he was exactly the image of the Republican Party, which had been long criticized for a lack of diversity, sought to promote. Now, a little side note, at that time in 2018, I also was going to the same city council. I didn't see Mark Robinson at the time, but I was speaking about some very viral information myself about a massive amount of illegal aliens that were killing people, and I read off names, and I really got this hate from the audience, and I had to kind of keep myself safe a lot of times. And I did a lot of rallies during that time as well. So I crossed paths with Mark Robinson multiple times. And just like many other people, the wool was pulled over my eyes. It wasn't the video that really did it for me. I didn't really pay attention too much to the video. It was the fact that was that equalness of how we both were going up there and standing for, important things. But later on, I realized that Mark Robinson was going to be a problem, and that was way before he became lieutenant governor. Let's move back in. It wasn't just the message that mattered. It was Robinson's background that struck a chord. He was an everyday American, a factory worker with no prior political experience. He was standing up against the government's overreach. His plain-spoken manner and authenticity endeared him to the base. But what many supporters and even leaders within the GOP failed to recognize was the deeper complexity of his character. The viral video created an image of Robinson as a no-nonsense, straight-talking politician, but it was only the beginning of what became a far more problematic story. And I will let you know, I was active in the Guilford GOP, and he was nowhere to be, never came to a meeting beforehand. He was brought in and asked to come into our meetings, and then he was a little active at that point. But we didn't know too much about his past. I didn't realize that he had posted some of the things he posted on Facebook. I didn't research. I didn't vet him. I also was one of the persons when I ran for office in 2018 that said you should use this momentum and run for office. I had him sat down next to Ted Budd, our sitting congressman at the time, now our senator, and said, talk some sense into Mark. He should run for office. So I feel invested in this a little bit, that I helped create a monster. And sometimes the monster needs to be knocked down a peg. And so that's why I'm enthusiastic about taking down this monster. It wasn't because I wanted to. It's because of the things that he's done. It has to be done. And someone has to speak out and say the emperor is not out wearing clothes. That the person that everybody thinks is great is not so great. And I've dealt with a lot of hate, plus the introduction. Now let's move on. Trump's ties, more paid than earned. While Donald Trump initially appeared to back Robinson, it's worth noting that this support may have been more transactional than ideological. Many remember Trump's comments at a Florida resort where Robinson's campaign paid for an event at Mar-a-Lago as being mistaken for a full-fledged endorsement. But observers now realize that Trump, who has always been attuned to the nuances of political alliances, has since distanced himself from Robinson. And he's been distant from Robinson for a while. Despite needing North Carolina's crucial votes in the next election, Trump has remained conspicuously quiet when it comes to endorsing Robinson with the same vigor he does others. This silence speaks volumes, especially as Robinson's rhetoric often stood at odds with the MAGA agenda. The hate speech and the controversies that surround Robinson didn't align with the populist, economic focus messaging of the broader Republican movement under Donald Trump. In the eyes of some, Donald Trump's distance from Robinson was not just a coincidence, but a strategic choice. Now, this is an opinion. It's clear that Trump, though acknowledging Robinson's early candidacy, never fully invested his political capital in him. He did flub up. He did say something about him being a Martin Luther King on steroids. I'm sure somebody gave Donald Trump that line, and I'm sure we regretted it pretty soon afterwards, especially since think Mark Robinson said Martin Luther King was nothing but like a fascist or what. I'm sorry, I'm quoting it wrong. He was like a fascist or commie or something like that, where he did not have any respect for Martin Luther King. So, yeah, a little flub on Trump's point, but we have to address this. We have to get it out in the open. But Trump staying away from what Robinson was doing allowed Trump to maintain a plausible deniability, while also making it clear that Robinson extremism was not fully representative of Trump's vision. And if you've gone back to Donald Trump's speeches, unless Mark Robinson was there and he had to quickly say something, which is usually beforehand, Donald Trump didn't really introduce Mark Robinson. Donald Trump didn't talk about Mark Robinson. He did promote Mark Robinson. Probably because our former chairman, Michael Whatley, became the national chairman. And I'm pretty sure that Michael Whatley probably informed Donald Trump about Mark Robinson. Meanwhile, the baggage of Robinson's past. As more details emerge, it becomes clearer why Robinson's campaign is facing such immense pressure. Within the GOP are now coming to terms with what they call a conspicuous decision to look away. Robinson's troubling past comments on social media, particularly regarding race, gender, religion, sexuality, were often brushed aside in favor of his viral fame and public speaking skills. One might wonder why the Republican Party did not properly vet Robinson. The truth is that many in the party were aware of his inflammatory rhetoric, but chose not to ignore it. I mean, when you're running for lieutenant governor doesn't really do much. They didn't think he was going to go that far. They probably didn't think he was going to win. He squeaked by a win. And who would have thought he would have ran for governor right off the bat? But as Pat McCrory, former North Carolina governor, bluntly put it, quote, the leaders of the state Republican Party, North Carolina, turned a blind eye to his very apparent weakness because it brought new, diverse, and dynamic voice to the party. So basically, he got a pass. He got a hall pass. Like I've been saying, Mark Robinson was the North Carolina Republican Party DEI choice. As much as we are claiming we don't like DEI, that we don't like identity politics, et cetera, they did that in my opposition of my groups why do you got to be that group? Well, they did that. They promoted Mark Robinson because of that diversity. And there's nothing wrong with diversity in our party. We need more of it, especially in our Republican meetings. But pick people who are better. But the recent allegations linking Robinson to a, quote, black Nazi account, where the user praised Mein Kampf and spoke of restoring slavery, are far more serious than past controversies. While Robinson has denied any connection to these accounts, the damage to his campaign is done. And it's not just because of that. It's because of all the other rhetoric. It's compiled. This risk the entire GOP ticket in North Carolina is profound, which has led us to a deepening crisis for the GOP. Now with Robinson refusing to drop out of the race, Republican strategics and strategists are scrambling to contain the fallout. Even those closest to the campaign acknowledge the gravity of the situation. They fear Robinson's unpopularity could drag down the rest of the ticket. They're jeopardizing key congressional and state races. The concern isn't just about Robinson losing the governor's race, but about what his presence on the ballot means for the entire GOP. And I got to tell you, if you're an unaffiliated voter, or you're smart, constitutionalist for liberty, are you a Republican who has sense, or if you're a Democrat who has sense, you know who to vote for. And it doesn't have to be by a particular party. It's by the person. And we all know that Donald Trump deserves to be president because he's the best person that we can have in the White House. Even though many probably don't agree with him and don't like him, we also have to understand he's the best person for the job. But we also have to understand that even if you like Mark Robinson, even if you ignore all the stuff that he said or these certain things, he's not the best person for the office. Now, despite the scandal, Robinson remains defiant, dismissing criticisms from within his own party. Quote, "There's too much at stake in this election for the voters to worry about mindless chatter from defeated politicians from yesteryear." Now, Robinson declared this combative attitude, however, is precisely what has made many Republicans nervous. Moving forward, a party in crisis. As Republicans attempt to salvage their prospects in North Carolina, Robinson's troubles offer a cautionary tale about the dangers of elevating unvetted candidates based on fleeting viral fame. Now, in my opinion, while Trump and others may have seen Robinson as a means to connect with a broader base, they failed to account for the long-term consequences of his rhetoric and background. The broader Republican Party now faces a difficult decision. Continuing backing Robinson and risk alienating moderate voters, or push for his exit and try to repair the damage before the election. Now, this didn't make it to the article, but I had read that at some time Mark Robinson had considered that if Donald Trump had contacted him, that he might consider dropping out of office if Donald Trump said drop out of office. Now, I don't know if this got as far as Donald Trump. I don't know if it was considered in the Donald Trump. But they said in the Trump verse, and this does make sense, they were questioned about getting Donald Trump. And as they asked the question back, what then? You know, we had just went through RFK getting his name and suing to take his name off the ballots, and they had to reprint the ballots. And they were supposed to send out the ballots. And the deadline that day was to take yourself off the ballot, but it wouldn't actually take you off the ballot. There was a process, and we've gone over this before in a previous podcast, about what would happen in case he dropped out. There would be a council of North Carolina GOP leadership. They would come together and they would try to find a candidate that could replace Mark Robinson, but it couldn't be a candidate who already ran in the election. So it couldn't be somebody who's already on the ticket. They couldn't move Weverman from lieutenant governor to governor. They couldn't bring back Falwell, who ran for governor, myself, who ran for lieutenant governor. They couldn't pick me. They couldn't pick anybody else. They'd have to have somebody waiting in the wings. But as the Trump camp said, who would also then run on the ticket of vote for me, my name is Mark Robinson on the ballot, but it represents me. Who would really want to put that into their guys? So at this point, it was more like, leave it alone. We've kind of realized that we're going to lose the governorship. And a lot of people have spent their money in other places. They have put their efforts in other places. And they realized that we're probably going to lose the governorship. On a personal note, I wish that we had lost, if we lose the governorship, that we lost on other terms. Because I find it horrible that I'm going to have fellow Republicans who are going to cope this away and going to continue to say that Mark Robinson was removed because of evil leftist agenda and the Soros agenda and et cetera, and they will brush aside all the things that Mark Robinson has actually said. But they'll put it down that he'll lose this election because of, we don't know, unfounded information that could or could not have been done. The jury is still out. But they're going to ignore all the past stuff that really already proved that he shouldn't win, in my opinion. Maybe it's because so many of them agree with him. I don't. I don't like that about our North Carolina GOP. It does not make me a non-member of the GOP. It doesn't make me less of a Republican for calling out the people. And I know people go, well, why didn't you work hard for him not to be the candidate then? Well, I was running my own campaign. And because of the viralness of Mark Robinson, what could I say? I already said what I needed to say. I've written extensively of what I needed to say, even when I was running for office. But my job when I was running for office wasn't to try to combat against Mark Robinson. I knew that trajectory. I knew where we were headed. And sadly, we're headed to right now at this point. I hate to say I told you so. I told you so. Because in a constitutional republic like ours, leadership requires both integrity and foresight. Robinson's story reminds us of the importance of vetting candidates thoroughly and placing principle over popularity. As the GOP moves forward, especially in North Carolina, it will need to reevaluate its approach if it hopes to secure victories in key battleground states like my state of North Carolina. Finally, my opinion, the future of the Republican Party depends on candidates who can embody both the values of liberty and the vision of a better America without the baggage that leads to chaos. And this isn't Mark Robinson. Think about that. God bless. Peace. Thank you for tuning in.
Mark was a name on every tongue, from viral fame to praises sung. A factory man, no political past, in North Carolina rising fast. His speeches echoed, the crowd was loud, but shadows crept behind the cloud. Oh, mini soldier, what's in your hands? A man with a mission in troubled lands. But can you stand when truth's undone? Or will the fight be over before it's begun? The NC GOP saw a star so bright, but failed to see what hid from sight. From gun right speeches to the stage, but whispers follow, turning the page. Nude Africa website trails like a stain, where the words are cold and truth is slain. Oh, mini soldier, what's left to show? A hidden past where shadows grow. It's not a good thing to be a black Nazi when the days of change are history. Trump's distance, a silent refrain. His name was close, but now it wanes. As Robinson stumbles, the GOP bends, worried about how this story ends. Uncle Ruckus of politics, they say, leading his own down a darker way. Accusations fly like arrows strong, black Nazi echoes, something's wrong. Praise for Hitler, slavery's return. A bridge once built now starts to burn. He denies it all, claims it's a lie, but the fire rises, touching the sky. Oh, Robinson, can't you see the fall? The weight of history, it crushes all. You can't bring back what's been undone. The days of slavery are over and done. The Republican Party scrambles, who can they trust? In a storm of scandal, dreams turned to dust. They looked away when they should have seen the danger hiding behind the screen. Now they panic, now they fight to save the party, to make things right. Oh, shadows cast, the rumors grow. The governor's seat feels far below. Your chance to rise is fading fast, yet Robinson keeps clinging to the past. The Republicans scramble, who can they trust? In a storm of scandal, dreams turn to dust. They looked away when they should have seen the danger hiding behind the screen. Now they panic, now they fight to save the party, to make things right. Oh, Robinson, what's left to defend? Will your race be over before it begins? The stakes are high, the truth's in view, but now it's too late, the damage is proved. From SNL skits to the latest news, mocked on stage, you paid your dues. But laughter fades when facts are strong. The people now see where things went wrong. Mark Robinson, a name once bold, now fades away as the stories unfold. Oh, SNL laughs, the crowd laughs too, but now it's real, the end's in view. From viral fame to a fall from grace, Uncle Ruckus left in an empty space. From viral fame to a bitter fall, Mark Robinson echoes through it all. Once a hero, now a sign of fear for those who held you oh so dear. Now the past won't let you go, the future fades, and the truth will show. Oh, Robinson, what's left to defend? Will your race be over before it begins? The stakes are high, the truth's in view, but now it's too late, the damage is through. Oh, Mark Robinson, what's left to say? From viral star to a troubled day, you chased the fame, but lost the fight. Now shadows rule where once was light. You rode a wave that turned to dust, a story of power, of broken trust. And in the end, as the curtains close, it's the tale of a man that no one shows. The cheers are gone and the lights fade out, from rise to ruin, drowned in doubt. The echoes fade in empty halls, just whispers left of Mark Robinson's fall.
Well, your partner today has been in some hot water recently for the comments that he left on a pornographic website. He is the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson.
Oh, come on, man. That was AI. I ain't comment on all them amazing pornos.
Now, see, amazing makes me feel like you did it.
All right, I don't want to get into the minutia, but that ain't me. I mean, what was my username? Mini Soldier? Man, they got AI coming up with the coolest usernames.
Whatever you say. Okay, the teams are set. Round one. Mark, we will start with you and Bad Bunny. Let's go to the pyramid for your categories.
Okay, I want In the Club. Bobby, I love the club.
All right, In the Club. Mr. Bunny, you will be given the clues first. 30 seconds on the clock and begin.
Okay, this is like the main thing you do in the club.
Cheat on your wife.
No. Okay, if the cops find this on you, you go to jail.
My cell phone, my personal cell phone.
Pass. You pull it up on your phone and you go for a ride.
Nude Africa, the website Nude Africa.
Pass. Okay, it feels good in the moment, but you always regret it.
Commenting I'm a black Nazi on a pornographic website.
Wow, that was an absolutely brutal performance. What happened out there, Mark?
Guess I got my own stuff going on.
Yeah, that you do.